We all do it. Even animals do it. But humans are special in that we're the only species on Earth that cries in response to emotions. But why do we do it though? Because humans have developed crying as a form of honest signaling. But what is that? Let's cut to Stacy in the field for some definitions.
Go.
Thank you, Casey. Well, a signal in general is a gesture, behavior, or trait that functions to convey information from the signaler, i.e. the individual performing the signal, to the receiver, or the individual perceiving the signal. Honest signaling is the specific occurrence when both the sender and the receiver obtain fitness benefits. For example, honeybees waggle to convey information about the location of a food source to their hive mates. This benefits both the sender and the receivers in the form of more food for the queen and her hive. This comes in contrast to deceitful signaling, in which the sender receives a fitness benefit, but the receiver pays a fitness cost. But don't worry about that. We'll talk more about it later. I think that's all for me. Back to Casey in the studio. Wow, that was very insightful. Thank you, Stacy. So how does this apply to crying? Well, let's break down what makes up an honest signal. First off, it communicates something. Crying is typically used as a signal to cue to others into how the signaler is feeling or their current situation. So what exactly does crying communicate? Let's ask an expert. Humans are complicated, bro, and crying can signal many different things.
In two different studies, photos of sad faces with tears were rated 35% more helpless and 15% more friendly than photos of sad faces without tears.
They were also rated 20% more warm, but 40% more sad. Participants of another study also rated signalers with neutral faces and tears to be more trustworthy, with 80.
In the trust game, each participant was given a sum of resources. They then could keep the resources or give the resources to the trustee. If they chose to keep the resources, only they benefited. If they chose to give the resources to the trustee, then the trustee was then given two choices. The resources were tripled, and the trustee could A, keep the resources, or B, split the resources with the participant. If the trustee chose to keep the resources, only the trustee benefited. But if they chose to split the resources with the participant, then both the participant and the trustee benefited. Thus, participants would invest in the trustees that were more trustworthy. When participants were presented with trustees that did not have tiers, only 59% chose to share their resources. But when presented with trustees that did have tiers, 84% chose to share their resources, indicating that the presence of tiers increased the perceived trustworthiness of the signaler.
Even photos of dogs, cats, chimpanzees, and hamsters, all of which don't produce emotional tears, were rated overall more friendly and less aggressive when tears were edited onto their faces. Great, thanks so much, Lacey. Now that we know what crying communicates to others, what benefit do we gain from doing it? I mean, there must be some reason we cry. Well, lucky for us, we have a real scientist here today that can give us that information. Oh, didn't see you there. So, for a signal to be worth it, the signaler has to benefit from it somehow. In a society where crying in front of others tends to be a little taboo, the benefits can be difficult to comprehend. However, data demonstrates that people feel more inclined to approach, offer support or aid, and feel less aggressive towards individuals crying than those with only sad expressions. In one study, 85% of participants willingly shared their resources with an individual that was crying, while only 60% shared resources with an individual that wasn't crying. In another study, participants were 30% more likely to want to approach an individual that was crying than an individual that was not. MRI scans of women viewing photos of crying infants and adults showed significantly more brain activity in the occipital lobe.
The occipital lobe is the part of the brain responsible for receiving and processing visual stimuli. The increased activation highlights the salience of the visual signal of tears. There was also increased activity in the insular cortex and the anterior cingulate cortex. These areas are associated with emotional experience and learning, self-awareness, and empathy, and may facilitate feelings of sympathy or a desire to give support to the crying individual. Even more interesting was the increased activity in the somatosensory cortex. The somatosensory cortex is responsible for receiving and processing physical stimuli from the body, such as temperature or touch. But tears are a visual signal. While scientists suspect activation of this area may serve to increase physical feelings of discomfort in the receiver, encouraging them to act in a way that alleviates both their own discomfort and that of the person crying.
Other studies have indicated that tears also induce faster reaction times from the receiver.
In a study where participants were instructed to move a joystick a specific way or press a specific button depending on whether they saw a face with tears or a face without tears, receivers responded to photos with tears an average 50 milliseconds faster than those without tears in a joystick test, and an average 40 milliseconds faster in a button test.
So tears as a visual signal really do seem to incite a strong and fast reaction from the receiver, one that significantly benefits the signaler. But there's another piece to the puzzle. Remember, for a signal to be honest, it has to benefit both the signaler and the receiver. So what does the receiver gain from this interaction? Some theories say both benefits include positive reputation, strengthened social bonds, and future reciprocation, just to name a few. That was great, Tracy, and straight from the expert herself. So if crying signals need, and the signaler benefits by gaining support or aid, why don't we all just go crying all the time? Well, that would be deceitful signaling, which we mentioned earlier. Crying is difficult to fake, which is part of what keeps it honest. Don't believe me? Macy out in the field has done the research herself. I am here with Foster Schroeder, and we would like you to look at a video and tell us if the person is real crying or fake crying.
Real crying. There are tears.
All right, who am I here with?
Claire Zickel.
All right, are you ready to watch the video?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, what did you think?
I think it's fake.
Hi, I'm here with.
Jill Chacho.
Are you ready to see the video?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think?
Fake crying.
Fake crying. Yes. Who am I here with?
Andy.
Okay, Andy, I'm about to show you a video of somebody crying, and you're going to tell me if it's fake or not. Okay, what did you think?
Not fake.
All right, who am I here with?
Lauren.
All right, Lauren, are you ready to see the video?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my god, sorry, I'm yelling.
That's real crying. Well, there you have it. Fake crying is difficult to do. Don't believe us? In a study of over 200 subjects and 1,500 trials, fake and real crying could be reliably distinguished 60% of the time, significantly higher than by chance. Thanks, Macy. So you saw it for yourself. Crying is hard to fake. But there's one more piece of the puzzle to what makes up an honest signal. There are costs to performing a signal, both real and deceitful. So what's costly about crying? Let's consult a professional on costs and benefits. Crying can have loads of different costs depending on the receiver and the information that crying is communicating. On a physical level, tears blur your vision and can be physically draining and dehydrating. Several studies also revealed that crying can negatively influence the secretion of antibodies that are vital to our immune system. Crying can also have consequences in a social context.
In studies where crying individuals were rated more friendly or more helpless, they were also rated as 10 to 12% less competent. And though participants were more likely to approach or offer aid to crying individuals, there was also a 23% decrease in a desire to work with said individual. Crying might gain you support, aid, or increase sympathy, but it could also negatively impact your reputation, which could have future repercussions. But that's just crying for real. Attempting to fake this signal also has consequences. In one study, individuals that were caught fake crying or dishonestly signaling were viewed as 10% less competent, 25% less reliable, 26% less warm, and 35% less sincere. They were also viewed
as 26% more manipulative, and when asked to rate how connected the participants felt to each signaler, participants reported feeling significantly less connected to them in comparison to individuals that were perceived to truly be crying.
Evidently, using crying as a dishonest signal can have serious ramifications. The risk of being outed as a fake tends to outweigh the benefits of successfully fooling the receiver. And since real crying also has costs, we're less likely to use the signal in situations where it's unnecessary. Together, these costs and benefits have shaped tearful crying into a useful tool for honestly signaling emotional states and need to others. Wow, we have learned a lot today. Let's do a little recap. We learned that crying as an honest signal, 1, communicates something, 2, benefits both the signaler and receiver, 3, is difficult to fake, and 4, has costs. Well, there you have it. Crying is an honest signal. So if it's such an effective honest signal, why are humans the only ones that do it? Well, just look at our society. Humans thrive in communities and large social groups. Thus, it makes sense we've evolved a system of honestly conveying a need for cooperation and support, especially one that benefits all participants and increases the fitness of our species as a whole. I mean, think about it. Have we convinced you? Comment below your thoughts. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time. Good night.